Good evening and welcome, everyone. I'm Bill Maley, your Brighton Town Supervisor, and I want to welcome you to tonight's January 11th, 2023 meeting of the Brighton Town Board. It's our first regular meeting of the 2023 year, and we're glad to have you here, whether you're in the room with us or watching us remotely. If you are watching us on YouTube or on the cable access channel, and when we get to the open forum or the public hearings that we have tonight, if you want to participate either in that open forum or one of the public hearings, you'll have to go to Zoom to be able to speak during the open forum or the hearing. Go to the webpage, the Town of Brighton webpage at townofbrighton.org, and directions for getting to the link will be there. But in the meantime, let's start our meeting with a pledge to the flag, and I'll ask Councilmember DePonzio to lead us.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We do continue to make our meetings accessible to the deaf and hard of hearing community. Thank you to our ASL interpreters. And the agenda for tonight's meeting and all of the supporting material that we'll be referring to and making our decisions and during any deliberations, all are available again on the town's webpage. We do have 3 proclamations tonight. The first honors Dr. Martin Luther King Day, which will be, of course, this coming Monday. The town of Brighton will be holding a Martin Luther King Day celebration here in Town Hall, in this room, in the auditorium, at noon on Friday, January 13th. And we welcome all of you to join us for that event. We'll be featuring dancers from Garth Fagan Dance. So we welcome you there. But here is obviously Dr. Martin Luther King Day is a very important day, and our proclamation reads as follows. Whereas Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. promoted his belief in the equality of all men and women, and courageously employed the principle of nonviolence as the primary strategy to fight for freedom and justice for all, ultimately losing his life by assassination after enduring years of personal sacrifice. And whereas Dr. King's legacy has inspired generations of Americans to advocate for and protect civil rights through peaceful means, and as we mark the 2nd anniversary of the attack on the U.S. Capitol and witness attacks on democracies around the world, we are reminded that realizing Dr. King's nonviolent vision depends upon our efforts. And whereas, to quote Dr. King, human progress is neither automatic nor inevitable. Every step towards the goal of justice requires sacrifice, suffering, and struggle, the tireless exertions and passionate concern of dedicated individuals. And whereas in honoring Dr. King, we must continue building stronger, more diverse communities that reject racism, sexism, bigotry, and poverty, so that one day we will fully realize the great promise of democracy. Now therefore be it proclaimed that I, William W. Maley, Brighton Town Supervisor, and my colleagues, members of the Town Council, do hereby commemorate Monday, January 16, 2023, as Dr. Martin Luther King Day in the town of Brighton, and ask that the people of Brighton continue Dr. King's work every day by working together with friends and neighbors to end all forms of injustice and discrimination, and strive for the day when all women and men will be judged not by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. And this proclamation has been signed today, this 11th day of January, 2023. Next recognizes today, January 11th, as National Slavery and Human Trafficking Prevention Day. Human trafficking occurs in large cities and in small towns. It can involve the sex trade or forced employment or servitude. But however, wherever, whenever it occurs, persons who have been trafficked bear scars, both physical and emotional. And thanks to organizations that are part of RCAT, the Rochester Regional Coalition Against Human Trafficking, not only do those survivors have support systems they can turn to, but there are also people hard at work in this community to make sure that human trafficking in all of its forms is eradicated. This morning, as part of an annual observance of National Slavery and Human Trafficking Awareness Day, I read this proclamation, and I will now read it again, in the hopes that we as a community will continue to find ways to protect some of our weakest members from the scourge of human trafficking and to help survivors of trafficking begin to heal those scars. Whereas human trafficking is a modern form of slavery involving the use of force, fraud, or coercion to exploit people for labor, domestic servitude, or commercial sex acts. And whereas an estimated 26 million adults and children of all ages, races, and socioeconomic backgrounds are victimized around the world, including the United States, and yes, here in our own community. Whereas an insidious, pervasive industry, human traffic generates as much as $150 billion annually, with commercial sex exploitation making $99 billion, and forced economic exploitation, including domestic work and agricultural work, among others, making $51 billion. Whereas there is no evidence that traffickers are more likely to be of a particular race, nationality, gender. They may be family members, romantic partners, acquaintances, or strangers. Whereas the National Human Trafficking Hotline reported over 10,000 unique cases in 2021 and states that the majority of trafficking is in the commercial sex trade and disproportionately impacts women and girls. Whereas the town of Brighton supports the efforts being made by the Rochester Regional Coalition Against Human Trafficking and law enforcement to prevent human trafficking and protect victims of trafficking. Now therefore be it proclaimed that I, William W. Maley, Brighton Town Supervisor, and members of the Brighton Town Council, do hereby declare January 11, 2023, to be National Slavery and Human Trafficking Prevention Day in the town of Brighton, and use this opportunity to make all members of our community aware of the evils of human trafficking, so that human trafficking and slavery can be stopped and victims given justice and freedom. And this proclamation is also signed this 11th day of January, 2023. And finally, a proclamation recognizing National Law Enforcement Appreciation Day, which took place earlier this week. Whereas law enforcement officers of every rank and file have chosen a profession that puts their lives on the line every day for their communities. Whereas having answered a call to public service that is demanding and often underappreciated, National Law Enforcement Appreciation Day was created in 2015 to remember and honor the sacrifice, bravery, and commitment of those who are sworn to protect us. Whereas Brighton benefits from having a town police department that is connected with the community and understands the needs of our neighborhoods, our schools, faith institutions, and commercial businesses. Whereas we are proud that the Brighton Police Department reflects the high standards we embrace as a community, strives to be accessible and responsive to residents, supports and promotes crime prevention efforts, and works to maintain a safe and orderly community respectful of diverse ideas, practices, and people. And whereas in honor of this special day, we sincerely thank our Brighton Police Department officers for their dedication to community policing and serving the town with the utmost professionalism. And whereas National Law Enforcement Appreciation Day inspires us to recognize the men and women in law enforcement who help uphold our democracy, sometimes at the risk of their own lives. Now therefore be it proclaimed that I, William W. Maley, Brighton Town Supervisor, and the members of the Brighton Town Council do hereby recognize January 9th, 2023 as National Law Enforcement Appreciation Day. And be it further resolved that we take this moment to again remember Rochester Police Officer Anthony Mazurkowitz, who was killed in the line of duty on July 21st, 2022. This proclamation is signed this 11th day of January, 2023. And I would say, as I've said many times, the Brighton Police Department is second to none. They're an asset to this community. They engage with all parts, all members of the community. They help residents and visitors, as well as local business owners, to stay safe and to protect themselves from criminal activity. This is one small way of saying thank you, but I certainly, and I know all my colleagues here, encourage the entire community to join us in a collective expression of gratitude and appreciation for the work the Brighton Police Department does and the risks they take on our behalf. Chief, please share our appreciation with the entire department.
Thank you.
We'll move on. Can I have a motion to approve the agenda, please?
So moved.
Second.
Deanne, please call the roll.
Councilmember DeFazio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado?
Aye.
Supervisor Maley?
Aye. Whoops. I skipped the open forum, didn't I? Sorry about that. Thank you, Chris. That did seem fast, didn't it? All right.
You got ahead of me.
So we will now begin the open forum portion of our meeting. We hold that at the beginning of every town board meeting, especially when Chris reminds me to do that. The open forum is an opportunity to address the town board concerning any matter relating to the town, whether or not it's an item that's on our agenda this evening. Now, if you are here or on our Zoom or watching and planning to speak either to the public hearing concerning the proposed removal of trees at 175 and 178, I'm sorry, 175 or 185 Alamo Drive, or the public hearing on a proposed local law that would implement a new state law increasing the income limit for certain property tax exemptions. If you'd like to speak to those public hearings and want your comments on the record, I would encourage you to wait until I call those hearings. I'll be doing that in just a few minutes. If you're here in person and would like to participate in the open forum, or when we get to the hearings, simply raise your hand and we'll recognize you and come to the podium. We'll ask you to state your name and address, and then you can give your remarks. If you are participating remotely and want to participate either in the open forum or the public hearing, again, please go to the town's website and follow the Zoom link that's there, and you'll be able to participate that way. During the open forum, I ask all speakers, whether in person or remote, again, to please state your name and address. Please limit your remarks to 3 minutes. I'll give you a 30-second warning before that 3-minute time expires. We may not be able to answer your questions this evening, particularly if it relates to a matter that's not on the agenda. But the open forum tonight and at every town board meeting is intended as an opportunity to allow you to share your thoughts with the board and for us to be able to listen to your words. Therefore, please direct your remarks to the town board and not to the room or to other speakers. Please refrain from personal attacks and from outbursts of any kind during the open forum, out of respect for our speakers and for the time of everybody here tonight. So with that, I'll open the open forum. Is there anyone here in the room that would like to address the board during the open forum tonight? I see no one. Is there anyone on our Zoom that would like to address the board during the open forum? And if you would, please use the raised hand feature on Zoom, and you'll be unmuted and allowed to participate. Seeing none, then, well, we've already approved the agenda. Thank you, Chris. We will go on. We do have 2 public hearings tonight. The first public hearing relates to the proposed removal and replacement of a 36-inch silver maple tree at 175 Alamo Drive and a 64-inch silver maple tree at 185 Alamo Drive. And I will ask the town clerk, has the necessary legal notice been given on this public hearing?
Yes, Supervisor, notice was in the December 28th edition of the Daily Record.
Thank you very much. And communication was sent to the adjoining?
Correct. Proper notice was sent to all the adjoining neighbors.
Wonderful, thank you. Then I declare this public hearing on the removal of trees at 175 and 185 Alamo Drive to be open. Is there anyone here that would like to speak to that public hearing?
Supervisor?
I'll let Mike talk a little bit about how we got here.
So obviously both trees are significant trees. They're greater than 30 inches in diameter. The tree law requires that we have a public hearing, which is why we're here tonight, obviously to solicit public comment. Initially there was actually 2 trees on Alamo Drive. There was a 64-inch, which is the one we're looking at now. There was also a 52-inch silver maple. All the trees were presented to the tree council and presented to Public Works. Tree council said, let's hold on that 52-inch. Let's sit and monitor it for a while and see how it goes. So that was pulled off of the remove and replace list. I did receive some correspondence from Ross Virgo, who is the owner, or the owner at 185 Alamo. Ross was a little bit, he had wanted both trees to be taken down, basically at 185. I explained to him the tree council's position. He was agreeable to the tree council's position, but asked that we trim the tree, that it's not going to be cut down. So I indicated to him we will look at that on our February trim list, so we will be trimming that tree. That's the only correspondence I received regarding the trees. Like I said, I think he said the tree council and the Public Works Committee were both agreeable to the remove and replace of these 2 trees.
Good. Well, then we can introduce that correspondence as a part of the record of the hearing when we get to that point. Again, is there anyone in the room that would like to address this public hearing on the removal of trees on Alamo Drive? Is there anyone remote on our Zoom that would like to participate in the public hearing? Seeing and hearing none, I declare this public hearing to be closed. And I'll ask Councilmember Corrado if you would make a motion.
Happy to do so. In the matter of the proposed removal and replacement of a 36-inch silver maple at 175 Alamo Drive and a 64-inch silver maple at 185 Alamo Drive, I move that we adopt the resolution before us.
Second.
Is there any discussion? And again, that item of correspondence from the owner at 185 will be included in the record. If there is no further discussion, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember DeFazio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado?
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy?
Aye. The next item is a public hearing on a proposed local law. Yep, here we go. It's a local law known as the 2023 Senior and Disabled Real Property Tax Exemption Adjustment. Dan, has the necessary legal notice been given on this public hearing?
Yes, Supervisor, this was published in the January 4th edition of the Daily Record.
Thank you. Then I declare this public hearing open on that local law. Is there anyone here in the room that would like to address this proposed local law? Is there anyone on Zoom that would like to address this local law? Hearing none, I'll just say a couple of things that we can put into the record. Last year, the governor signed legislation to amend the state real property tax law to allow local taxing authorities to raise the income limits for the property tax abatements under state law for low-income individuals with disabilities and low-income seniors. That income limit was raised under the law, the maximum from $29,000 per year to $50,000 per year. Below that level of income, homeowners qualify for a 50% reduction of their assessed valuation, and that assessment then falls incrementally on a sliding scale up to $58,400, I'm sorry. Those income levels had not been increased since 2010, and of course there's been significant inflation since that time. The property tax is a regressive tax. It's certainly more regressive than an income tax. And this increase in the income limits will help alleviate some of the disparate impact of the property tax on lower income homeowners. It will also have a positive impact on the ability of our more senior residents to remain in their homes and in our community. Last night, the Monroe County Legislature took action to approve a similar law raising the limit for county taxes, and I was pleased to see County Executive Adam Bello sign that legislation today. I urge our town board to do the same and look forward to any further discussion on that. Any further discussion before we close the hearing? And of course we can talk about it once the hearing is closed. Then I declare the public hearing closed. I will ask Councilmember DeFazio if you would.
Yes, with respect to the matter of the local law increasing income qualification limits for the limited income disabled persons and limited income senior property tax exemptions, I move that we adopt the resolution as prepared by the town attorney.
Second.
Any discussion?
We reviewed this at several Finance and Administrative Services Committee meetings and did the deep dive with information from our assessor from Pam Post. Also, Paula Parker, our finance director, did some analysis to provide us with. But I think it's compelling that there's been no changes to the income limit since 2010, which is 13 years ago, and there's been as we all know, significant changes in cost of everything else. So it makes sense to increase this, in my opinion, to bring it up to today's standards in accordance with the governor's legislation.
And I will note that it also serves in support of our Inclusion, Diversity, and Equity Action Plan, which does anticipate the town taking measures in order to allow people to age in place in the community.
If I may, Supervisor, one thing that the law that the governor signed was specifically targeted seniors and seniors and disabled. A bit concerned on my part is this has left other people behind. There's anything that the board can address at this table, but there's, I suspect, a good number of people who are under that cap, who aren't 65, who are probably under that cap with children, and it's an issue that hopefully that. I mean, on one hand, it redistributes this to other property taxpayers, but I hope the state legislature will take a look at that, because I hear from a lot of people every year at the counter who talk about how they're trying to figure out how to pay it, and they're not 65.
Yeah. Well, it's certainly indicative of the need for good, affordable housing in our community and in communities across the area. And I look forward to working with local developers who have plans that they haven't fully submitted yet, but to have the opportunity to consider new affordable housing opportunities here in the town of Brighton. It's much needed. We can't build them ourselves, but what we can do is work with the developers because it will enhance the overall quality of life for our entire community. Any further discussion on this? Hearing none, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember DePonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado?
Aye.
Supervisor Manley?
Aye. Next, we have communications, and we have a number of items of communication tonight. A letter from Rabbi Nehemiah Vogel thanking me for participation in a number of Hanukkah activities and menorah lightings. Thank you, Rabbi. Couple of items that we discussed yesterday in committee meetings. The first is a letter from Tom Fries, the Director of Transportation for Monroe County. We had asked that the county DOT look at Winton Road for a possible reduction in speed limit to 30 miles per hour. This is a report back from the DOT recommending against that reduction. We had a good, robust discussion about that and the methodology that was used, and again, the importance of traffic safety in our community, and the importance of our county and our state DOTs to work to make sure that we have true complete streets, that our state and county arterial streets are safe and accessible for pedestrians and for bicycles. We have a bicycle desert right now because our county and state DOTs don't support the concept of adding bicycle lanes even when you have wide shoulders like you do on Winton Road. I think we need to move in that direction. I think we need as a community to continue to encourage bicycle and pedestrian active transportation, other forms of transportation, whether they be wheelchairs or other non-traditional modes of transportation. So part of that is making sure speed limits are safe for that complete range of transportation options. So I think there'll be further discussions on this, but I wanted to share that with the community. We also have communication from the Monroe County Department of Planning relating to the 2021 Land Use Monitoring Report for Monroe County. That full plan is out in, I believe, in the clerk's office. Has it been submitted to you? The full plan, but in any event, there's a transmittal letter with a more detailed plan. We also have correspondence from Mark Cholak, the fire chief in the Henrietta Fire District. Of course, Henrietta provides fire service in the western part of Brighton with a report on 2022 year-end statistics from his department, not just within the town of Brighton, but throughout the service area of the Henrietta Fire District. We also have a letter, one of those nice, happy letters we always appreciate hearing. It's from Becky Cotter, our recreation director, accepting a $500 donation from the 12 Corners Presbyterian Church for preschool programs, and we're greatly appreciative of that. And finally, there's communication from Mike Guyon, our Commissioner of Public Works and Highway Superintendent, appointing our Deputy Highway Superintendent for 2023. So with all that, can I have a motion to receive and file those communications?
So moved.
I'll give it to
Second.
Chris with a Robin second. Further discussion of those? Hearing none, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember DeFazio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado?
Aye.
Supervisor Mailer?
Aye. Committee reports, starting with Community Services. Robin.
Thank you, Bill. The Community Services Committee has not met in the intervening timeframe since our last town board meeting, but I do have a few quick updates from our Parks and Recreation Department heads. From our Recreation Department, the Winter Spring Program registration period is underway. Winter Spring programming for Brighton residents became available on January 3rd, and for non-residents, it began on January 10th. So be sure to check out our recreation options. You can call the Recreation Office at 585-784-5260, extension 0, or go online to register at www.townofbrighton.org/rec. The Brighton Farmers Market continues to be on a brief hiatus during January and February, but the market will reopen indoors at the Brookside Recreation Center on March 5th, and the winter hours will extend from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. And thanks in part to a generous donation from 12 Corners Presbyterian Church, which we already discussed, preschool programs are returning to Brighton Recreation. You can check out all of our new preschool programs and get in on the fun. Programming options include music and movement, preschool soccer, preschool open gym, preschool playtime, tap, ballet, tumbling, and more. Full details are online at our registration page. We'd also like the community to save the date of January 17th for our AARP tax preparation program. The annual volunteer tax preparation program with AARP will be available on a limited basis this year. The tax prep appointments for Brighton and Pittsford will be taking place at the Pittsford Community Center on Fridays from February 4th through April 8th. This is a free, quality, basic tax preparation service that can transmit your return directly to the IRS. It is available by appointment only. Please do call on or after January 17th to make an appointment. The number to call is our Recreation Department main line, 585-784-5260, extension 0. Upcoming programs starting the week of January 17th within the Recreation Department include ever-popular dog training, Happy Dog Level 1, dodge training for puppies and pre-K, belly dancing, painting concepts, Brighton Up yoga, no yogurt there, cornhole league, chair yoga, and so much more. From our Parks Department staff has been taking advantage of the lack of snow and are able to do more trail maintenance and garbage pickups within our parks and trail system. Staff recently completed an extensive debris pickup along the Highland Crossing Trail. Park staff have also continued removing dangerous park trees, mostly ash trees that are dead or in danger of falling in populated areas. This week, staff is focused on some areas adjacent to Roby Drive and the Brickyard Trail. Our parks superintendent is busy setting up our 2023 service contracts, rebids, and maintenance equipment and supply requests. The department has implemented an internal change from a 37.5 hour to a 40-hour work week for all full-time park staff. In addition to that change, the department is engaged in the continual process of working to reevaluate maintenance standards and procedures to find areas of improvement. Finally, the public can participate in some larger facility the public can anticipate some larger facility maintenance projects to be completed over the winter. While exciting, this will require that certain rental facilities be closed to complete more expansive projects that cannot be safely done in between rental time periods. We kindly ask for your patience as we make these improvements and upgrades. I'm sure they'll be worth the wait. And upcoming events for the community, we have our MLK Junior Celebration, as the supervisor mentioned, that will be at the Brighton Town Hall Auditorium, 2300 Elmwood Avenue on Friday, January 13th from noon till 1 p.m. Our Drug Enforcement Agency National Pharmaceutical Take Back event will be at Brighton Town Hall in the Public Safety Wing, again, 2300 Elmwood Avenue, on Saturday, April 22nd, from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. Brighton Clean Sweep is coming up again. It will be at the Brighton Town Hall, 2300 Elmwood Avenue, on Saturday, May 13th, from 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. And finally, our semi-annual electronics recycling and secure document shredding event will occur at the Brighton Highway Department parking lot, 1941 Elmwood Avenue, on Sunday, May 21st, from 9 a.m. to 12 noon. The next meeting of the Community Services Committee will be on January 18th at 9:30 a.m. Please do access the Recreation Department through the Winton Road entrance, and as always, members of the public are invited to attend.
Thanks very much, Robin. Next, our Finance Committee. Jason?
Yes, and the Finance Committee and Administrative Services Committee met last Wednesday, January 4th. However, I had a court appearance in Albany, but the meeting was capably chaired by my colleague, Councilmember Wilt, and I'll defer to her for the report.
Certainly, I don't have a lot of detail, but the Finance and Administrative Services Committee did meet last Wednesday, January 4th, and reviewed a number of contractual, procurement, finance, and/or budget and personnel-related matters, each of which occur on tonight's agenda, pending approval. The next meeting will be again on our new schedule at 8:30 a.m. on Wednesday, January 18th. Here in Town Hall, in the auditorium. Thank you.
Thank you both. Public Safety, Chris?
Yes, Bill. Our Public Safety Committee met yesterday morning, and as you first reported, the Department of Transportation from the county did discuss our request that Winton Road speed be reduced to 30 miles an hour, which they declined to do after their study. Brighton Ambulance reported on their activities and that they had received 849 requests for service in December, of which 330 served Brighton residents. with a total of requests of 526 within the Brighton Ambulance District. Of the total of service calls, 83 were in response to mutual aid calls. And they do note that there's a 17% increase in volume over 2021 in general and 22.3% for this month last year. Brighton Fire Department reported on some 2,500 calls year to date. Their Quint 300 was sold and delivered to the new owner, and 4 firefighters were deployed to Buffalo to help with the recent storm assistance. Department of Public Works Commissioner Guyon reported that there had been no significant snowfalls year to date, that they also had sent 2 dump trucks to Buffalo to help with snow removal. And they are continuing with the debris pickup as weather allows, and they have gone through Christmas trees and will continue to do so, picking those up from the front lawns of folks who are not leaving them in the street. Thank you. Brighton Police Department reported that they had agency in-service training, and the chief gave us an outline of the sort of things that they were receiving training on. They also discussed we also had a discussion of follow-up customer service surveys that are sent by text messages after the 9/11 calls. Battalion Chief Mark Audino from the Henrietta Fire District participates in our committee, and he reported on their calls year to date of 7,484, which is the highest number of incidents they've ever had, of which 836 calls were in West Brighton. About 10% of their calls, a little more than 10%, are in the West Brighton area. And I must say, Chief Audino's participation in our committee has really been welcome. He's been very active, and they've provided us some significant details, which you provided as part of our communications already. They also sent 2 crews to Erie County for help with the blizzard. And also noted that, although not within West Brighton, that there were 2 lithium-ion battery-related fires at RIT, that the batteries and battery chargers that are commonly used today, and they're being used indoors, are becoming a problem. So be very cautious with particularly the large volume lithium-ion battery devices, scooters, and so forth, that they can catch fire and they can explode. There are no serious injuries, but they do raise some concern that they may become more prevalent. We are still awaiting any response on the request for pedestrian and turn signals at a number of intersections in Brighton from the county department, and at Westfall, Winton, Monroe, Edgewood, Torrington, and Allens Creek. Commissioner Guyon is going to follow up on that. Also, the police have completed their monitoring regarding requests for speed humps on Warren Avenue, and it does not appear that they are warranted. However, Warren Avenue and the concern about cut-through traffic there will continue to receive special attention, as it has been all along, by the Brighton Brighton Police Department. There also was a discussion of the review of town-wide speed reduction to 25 miles an hour on town-owned roads, and the relative cost of reviewing both Type 1, the main streets, and Type 2, neighborhood street studies that will be required for that kind of blanket reduction. And perhaps that we may treat the 2 different types of roads differently. Again, we're looking at the relative cost of that analysis. Also, Fire Marshal Chris Roth asked us to please remind folks that smoke detectors are critical, a critical bit of safety equipment in everyone's home. And from my own personal experience, they saved our home from a very serious fire that started out of doors in a structure next to our home. And I suppose, fortunately, the smoke was pulled into the house and set off our smoke detectors inside. Otherwise, that side of the house would clearly have caught fire. So they should not be taken lightly. Please check them, and if you need help with receiving or installing a smoke detector, you only need to call the town hall. You'll be directed to the fire marshal, and folks will come out and help you with it, and you can receive a smoke detector from the town. We have them if they're needed. And our next meeting will be on the February 14th at 0800 hours here in the auditorium.
Thanks very much, Chris. And finally, Public Works. Christine.
Public Works Committee also met yesterday. This is a new schedule, stacking public safety and public works together on the second Tuesday of each month, so we can have double the fun, double the productivity on the second Tuesday. Public Works Committee had an update on the Town Hall study. The evaluation of the Town Hall HVAC system was done in 2017. At that time, replacement was recommended. Town Board recognized that the entire Town Hall building requires significant upgrades in addition to the HVAC improvements, and we expanded the evaluation to consider a comprehensive study of the Town Hall structure. An internal committee consisting of Miriam Moore, DEI Director, Dan Amon, Town Clerk, Tracy Major of the Public Works Department, Gary Donofrio of Public Works Department, and Mike Guyan, Superintendent of Highway Superintendent and Commissioner of Public Works. That one's a mouthful. Have been overseeing the project, and InX Architecture was selected to complete the study. Work on the study began in March of 2022, and they presented their preliminary findings to us yesterday. And those include improvement alternatives from which a project could be synthesized based on the available funding and project priorities. Further ARPA funding will be used to fund the project. The top priorities are, most importantly, asbestos remediation in the building, accessibility to Town Hall, first floor restroom facilities, security, and the installation of the new HVAC system, which spurred the whole project. The study also considers the reconstruction of the town parking area and the renovation of the ground and first floors of Town Hall. In that first priority project, the following improvements will be addressed: remediation of asbestos throughout Town Hall, the installation of the new HVAC system, installation of an accessible ramp at the main entrance to Town Hall, while still preserving the grand entrance that we have. Installation of accessible countertops in our public-facing departments, the installation of a unisex restroom and a separate mother's room on the first floor, and installation of door fobs and monitoring systems for security throughout. The cost to complete this work is estimated to be $5.5 million. And in addition, the cost to relocate town staff during the work is estimated to be $380,000. The committee also discussed the need to repair the town hall parking area. Estimated cost to repair that is $1,050,000, and the town will consider completing this improvement as funds become available. Following the Public Safety Committee discussion of the townwide 25-mile-an-hour speed limit, Public Works also addressed it in a little more detail. As my colleague noted, New York State vehicle and traffic law has been recently amended to allow municipalities the right to reduce speed limits within their jurisdictional boundaries from 30 miles an hour at the lowest level now down to 25 miles an hour. But to do so, the amendment requires engineering considerations and factors for the speed limit reductions to be certified by a licensed professional engineer. So who specializes in traffic operations. Stantec Consulting Services has provided a proposal to review the engineering considerations and factors for the speed limit reduction. The proposal breaks the town roads into two groups, a group 1 of low volume residential roads and group 2 higher volume roadways that serve as feeders for commercial and residential areas. The total cost to engineer the Group 1 roads, the neighborhood roads, is $7,932. The cost for the evaluation of all of the Group 2 roads, the higher volume roads, is $29,900. The committee suggests pursuing the speed reduction on all of the Group 1 roadways and selecting a number of Group 2 roads that primarily serve residential areas rather than all of the Group 2 roads. And the Commissioner of Public Works will contact Stantec and request a final proposal. So we're moving closer to 25-mile-an-hour reduction throughout town on our neighborhood roads and a few significant feeder roads, bit by bit. Another matter that was addressed, residents in the Evans Farm neighborhood requested consideration of a stop sign at Idlewood Road and Poplar Way, the popular street in Evans Road, Poplar Way. The resident suggested that such a stop sign, a three-way stop, would cause drivers to slow down and pay more attention to the road. And although the manual on uniform traffic control devices states that stop signs are not to be used for controlling speed, the town did undertake a study to complete to determine if the traffic volumes or crash history are sufficient to warrant installation of a stop sign at the intersection. And the criteria include traffic volumes exceeding 6,000 vehicles per day, a restricted view, and 3 or more crashes within a 12-month period. The study concluded that the intersection did not meet the criteria and does not warrant the installation of a stop sign. But I do want to remind folks in Evans Farm and anywhere else that you have a T intersection, such as Idlewood and Poplar Way, vehicles entering Idlewood from Poplar Way are required to stop at that T intersection, stop sign or not. So go way back to your high school driving course and get that little booklet out and double check. T intersections, you have to stop at that T. And last, the committee reviewed trees for removal and replacement. The Tree Council previously reviewed the trees and concurred with the recommendation to remove and replace them. And those trees are a 25-inch Norway maple at 28 Sylvan Road and a 37-inch sugar maple at 195 Wilshire Road. Both of those, the recommendation is to remove and replace. The Public Works Committee meets next on February 14th at 9 a.m. or at the conclusion of the Public Safety Committee meeting, should public safety run longer than an hour.
I'm sure it won't.
It never does.
It'll be efficiently run by Councilmember DePonzio, as I will be out of town.
I'll do my best. I'll do my best.
There is a high bar. You can do it.
Thank you all for those reports. We'll move on now to new business. Jason, reading and approval of claims.
Yes, earlier today I reviewed claims totaling $713,513.88. Notable claims include Alexa Paul LLC in the amount of $14,334.20, representing payment for law enforcement policy manuals and daily training bulletins. Also to ClearGov Inc. in the amount of $11,840, representing payment for capital and digital budget book software. Also to Northeastern Rescue Vehicles in the amount of $123,000, representing payment for a 2022 Ford Type 2 Transit ambulance. And also to the New York State Municipal Workers' Compensation Alliance in the amount of $71,844, representing payment for the first quarter of 2023 workers' compensation insurance and the workers' compensation annual assessment. And finally, to Tyler Technologies, Inc. in the amount of $17,335.79, representing payment for annual financial software maintenance. The claims all appear to be in order, and I move that they be approved.
Second.
Any discussion? The Finance Director is very pleased to see that ClearGov budget book
And the Tyler.
software and the
Finance,
Tyler, a lot
yeah.
of good software for our
Yes.
managing our
Yeah,
finances.
we'll have a 2023 budget finished within the next couple of weeks or so. We'll go through with the FASC committee to put our finishing touches on it, and it'll be a beautiful digital book for our budget.
And great
Which will be
prep for
lovely.
going forward, absolutely. We have a motion and a second on the claims. Any further discussion? Hearing none, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember DePoncio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado?
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy?
Aye. Christine, if you'd do the next one, please.
Yes, the next matter seeks to set a public hearing on Wednesday, February 8th for the incentive zoning application by Quicklies at 1950 and 1966 Monroe Avenue. I move that we adopt the resolution as prepared by the town attorney.
Second.
Mike or Ken, either one of you, if you'd like to. Ken?
So this is the next step in the incentive zoning process. The planning board has in fact reviewed the incentive zoning application. You'll recall that this board, your board, did do an initial review and found that proposal to be worthy of further consideration. And the planning board has issued an advisory report relative to the proposal and the amenity or amenities, which principally in this case is the actual design of the project. That is putting the building forward and the pumps behind and providing some public space out in the corner of Elmwood and Monroe Avenue, and also providing some EV charging stations on site. Now the task comes back to you to determine whether you are willing to further consider the proposal. If so, to set a public hearing and hear the public's comment, hear the presentation from the developer, take care of seeker matters. We do have a policy that was adopted long ago about sending public notice to interested parties and affected residents about incentive zoning applications. That would require the developer to send effectively a postcard notifying those who are within 1,000 feet, residents within 1,000 feet of the project, about the public hearing. There is also a provision in that policy that says that the town board can direct the applicant to send written notice to residents of multifamily units. There is one apartment complex that staff identified. It's the one that is just across Torrington from CVS, if you're familiar with it. It's called the Continental Apartments. And so you'll see in the resolution a direction that notice be provided in writing to those residents as well. Town staff will also identify for the applicant interested parties, which would include any neighborhood association presidents in adjacent neighborhoods, as well as anyone else from the public who has contacted the town about this specific project. And so all of that notice goes out, and then you would have your public hearing on the 8th of February. The reason it's out about a month is to give all of that notice an opportunity to get out there to let the public know what's going on.
Thanks, Ken. Great summary. Appreciate it. So again, to be clear, this is simply setting that public hearing and setting all these other notice provisions, the wheels in motion to do that. We have a motion and a second. Is there any further discussion on that motion?
Who was, oh,
Oh, go ahead.
I was just wondering who the second one was. I missed that.
Chris was.
Chris, okay. Sorry, Robert.
Christine made the motion, Chris seconded.
Oh, I just had one question with regard to the notification. I know that the Brighton Central School District building is right in that vicinity. They fall within the notification zone?
Yes.
Okay.
So they would receive notification anyway. Also, in addition to that, there are our typical public notices. We're going to publish it in the paper.
Yeah.
We're going to post it on the website. So all of our normal public hearing notifications also go out. This is just an additional layer beyond that.
Right. Thank you so much, Ken, for that clarification.
Further comments? Hearing none. Motion seconded. Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember DePoncio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado?
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy?
Aye. Jason?
Yes, the next matter seeks to authorize the supervisor to enter into an agreement with Beasley Group for cyber insurance in an amount not to exceed $15,000 for calendar.
Actually, that number should have been changed. It's $15,590.
Okay, an amount not to exceed $15,590 for calendar year 2023. I move we adopt the resolution as prepared by the town attorney.
Second?
Discussion on that? Obviously, cyber insurance is more and more in the news these days, and is a very important part, I believe, of our overall insurance package. If there's no further discussions, Dan, please call the roll on that motion.
Councilmember DeFonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado?
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy?
Aye. Robin?
Certainly, the next matter seeks to authorize the supervisor to enter into an agreement with Atlantic Testing Laboratories to provide material testing and special inspections for the Winter Farmers Market Construction Phase 3 improvements and a base amount of $13,355 with additional services charged per fee schedule. I move that we adopt the resolution as prepared by the town attorney.
Second.
Mike, you gave a great discussion on, explanation on this at the Finance Committee meeting relating to specialized testing that's required during the course of construction.
It is a required testing that we have to conduct, a third-party testing.
Yep. Great, thank you. Any further discussion? Hearing none, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember DeFonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado?
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy?
Aye. Chris, I'll have you do the next two.
Very good. Bill, the next item is to authorize the solicitation of bids for goods and services for town facilities as included in the 2023 budget. I move that we approve the resolution before us.
Second.
This is something we do each year, giving authority to a wide variety of goods and services that are routinely used at various town facilities. Any discussion? Hearing none, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember DeFonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado?
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy?
Aye.
And Bill, the next is to authorize the solicitation of bids for goods and services for highway, sewer, and Department of Public Works as included in the 2023 budget. I move that we adopt the resolution before us.
Second.
Any discussion on that, again, relating to those three departments? Hearing none, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember DeFonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado?
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy?
Aye. Jason?
Yes, the next matter seeks to authorize the supervisor to renew an agreement with Electronic Field Productions Incorporated for the provision of video production and cable television management services in an amount not to exceed $52,000. I move we adopt the resolution as prepared by the town attorney.
Second?
Thank you to our great videographer team, and we look forward to working with you for another year, assuming this resolution is approved. Any discussion? Hearing none, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember DeFonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado?
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy?
Aye. Robin?
Certainly, the next matter seeks to authorize the supervisor to execute a fee agreement with Interpretech for American Sign Language interpreters for town board meetings for 2023. I move that we adopt the resolution as prepared by the town attorney.
Second.
And we look forward to working with our interpreters as well for another year. Thank you. Any discussion? Hearing none, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember DeFonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado?
Aye.
Supervisor Mealy?
Aye. Christine?
Yes, the next matter seeks to authorize the supervisor to enter into an intermunicipal agreement with the town of Pittsford for the provision of snow and ice control along that portion of Allens Creek Road within the town of Pittsford for a 5-year term for the 2022 to 2023 snow season through the 2026-2027 snow season. I move that we adopt the resolution before us.
Second.
This is, again, a contract we have engaged with for many years, reflecting that there is that stretch of Allens Creek between Clover Street and East Avenue. It starts in Brighton, ends in Brighton, and there's a chunk in Pittsford in the middle. So our trucks continue down Allens Creek, service that section of Allens Creek Road that's in Pittsford, and Pittsford pays us a fee equal to the rate with the county snow removal contract. And the way things are going, we're coming out pretty well this year. Not working hard on that one this year.
What are you going to do with all that salt, Mike?
That's another story.
Storage. So we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember DeFazio?
Aye.
Councilmember Warner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado?
Aye.
Supervisor Maley?
Aye. Robin, the next item.
The next matter seeks to authorize the supervisor to enter into an agreement with Garth Fagan Dance Company for the provision of 2 performers for the town's Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Day celebration in amount not to exceed $250. I move that we adopt the resolution as prepared by the town attorney.
Second.
We're very excited to collaborate with Garth Fagan, the premier dance company, internationally renowned dance company, to celebrate Dr. King's birthday. Again, I'll say it one more time, this Friday, January 13th at noon here in Town Hall. Any further discussion? Hearing none, Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember DeFazio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado?
Aye.
Supervisor Maley?
Aye. And Christine, the last item.
The last item seeks to approve the designation of staff for 2023. I move that we approve the resolution as prepared by the town attorney. The town attorney. That was a tricky one, too.
Second.
This will be appointing a variety of positions.
It's actually just one individual.
Is it
One
just Eric?
individual.
Yep. It's Eric Castle, who's one of our newer employees, just
Right.
being appointed as a building inspector and code enforcement officer. A little bit of cleanup from
last time.
organizational.
Although there technically are, if I read this correctly, there are 2 sort of different provisions of the code that are covered. But in any event, it's
And the
Eric,
Assembly
and
Commissioner wrote it up.
we appreciate that. Okay. Well, in any event, we have a motion seconded. Further discussion? Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember DeFazio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado?
Aye.
Supervisor Maley?
Aye. Matters of the supervisor. We have the November 2022 expense and revenue reports. Can I have a motion to receive and file those?
So moved.
Second?
Any discussion? And of course, we will be getting into the year end and the audit and all of the other, but this is the regular monthly expense and revenue report for this past November. Hearing nothing, Dan, please call the roll on the receiving and filing of those reports.
Councilmember DeFazio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado?
Aye.
Supervisor Maley?
Aye. Just want to talk a little bit about last night. I had the opportunity to speak and separately submit written testimony to the New York State Independent Redistricting Commission. That commission is under court order to draw new New York State Assembly district lines. They are holding hearings across the state They had been in Buffalo the night before. They were in Rochester yesterday and head to Syracuse and then downstate. When their proposed plan was released, I was disturbed to see that they had split Brighton in two, proposing that West Brighton be placed in a different assembly district than the rest of Brighton. The line followed the canal. And that, I felt, could impair our ability to effectively lobby with the state, get support for state programs, and I wasn't alone. Last night, not only did I speak, but former State Senator Rick Dollinger, as well as Jim Hooper, whom I know all of you know, but Jim is a leading neighborhood president and well-respected resident of West Brighton. All three of us spoke urging the Redistricting Commission not to divide Brighton, to keep West Brighton with Brighton in the same assembly district where it's been for over 40 years. Went through the history of going back to, those of you that have been around for a long time will remember Audra Pinney Cook. Then, of course, Joe Morelli sat in that district for well over 20 years. Jamie Romeo, and today Sarah Clark. But in each case, it's been a district that has had all of Brighton, all of Arundecoit, and a portion of the city. And I certainly appreciated Jim and Rick taking the time and come in and express their views. I'm confident that the commission listened very closely to our statements, and I think our position is consistent with the guidelines that are shared with us all as part of the update process. So I'm cautiously optimistic that they will in fact make some changes to allow Brighton to stay in its entirety in one single assembly district. As mentioned before, the Highway Department continues to pick up live Christmas trees, and yes, I will remind people, put them in your, on the lawn or on the tree lawn next to the street. Please do not put them in the street itself. And please don't put them in a plastic bag. We see that sometimes, but of course these trees are being mulched at our mulching facility. Please do that, but our crews are going around picking them up, and I'd much rather have them doing that and doing some tree removals and other work. I'd much rather have them do that than snow and ice removal. So keep up the good work, Mike. And I don't want to say that too loud or too often, because we could get a little bit of snow coming up maybe Friday. Yeah. So in any event. Thank you again to our ASL interpreters. We appreciate it, and appreciate you providing access to these meetings to the entire community. One more time, I'll remind everybody of our Dr. King event on Friday, and that Town Hall will be closed on Monday, the 18th, in observance of Martin Luther King Day. Ken, matters of the town attorney.
I have nothing this evening. Thank you, Supervisor.
Matters of the town clerk.
Just a reminder that before our next meeting, nothing's different with taxes, so nothing. I was running us ahead a couple of weeks. It's been a long week.
Thanks, Dan. Matters of the board.
None.
Then can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
Dan, please call the roll.
Councilmember DeFonzio?
Aye.
Councilmember Werner?
Aye.
Councilmember Wilt?
Aye.
Councilmember Corrado?
Aye.
Supervisor Maley?
Aye. Thanks, everybody, for participating tonight. Our next meeting will be Wednesday night, January 25th at 7 o'clock right here. Have a good evening, everyone.